All right, time to call the meeting to order. If you would, join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of December 30th regular meeting. We have had a chance to look at these minutes. Anybody have any questions? Any additions or alterations? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have the fiscal officer's report. Linda?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Okay. Also, we have the current bills to pay. We have had a chance to take a look at the current bills. Anybody have any questions about the current bills? Hearing none, is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have resolution 4985, a resolution amending temporary appropriation resolutions with supplemental appropriation. Jack, anything especially you want to point out about that?
This is just to take the next movement, which is putting the investment funds back into the correct, where they came from, police, fire, road.
So, any questions on 4985? Is there a motion to approve? Linda, you got something?
No, it's just that it's we're doing it at the end of the year, and this is really 2016 interest money. And the reason why it's coming in so late is we didn't even get notified of what our interest was from our investment account. So it was like January 4th or 5th, so that's why it's so late.
Okay. Motion to approve 4985?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And we have resolution 4986, a resolution to approve a transfer of funds from the general fund to other funds, amounts equal to the investment income generated by those funds. That's what we just appropriated the dollars, and now we're moving them into the appropriate funds. Is there a motion to approve 4986?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And now we have board organization. Oh, I'm gonna do that. Time to elect a chair and a vice chair for 2017.
I'll make a motion to elect Mr. Wade to the chairman.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And is there a motion to elect someone to the vice chair?
I will suggest Mr. Gabbard.
Second. Sorry.
Mr. Mearsclaw, Mr. Wade, oh, Mr. Mearsclaw, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
See, it doesn't take much to throw me off. Mr. Wade,
Yay.
and then Mr. Gabbard.
Yay.
Okay.
All right. And then the 2017 meeting calendar. Jack just wants to set it as we've been doing in the past.
Second and
Second
fourth
and
Monday.
fourth Monday.
Time's your regular meeting.
No
5:30.
changes as far as I'm concerned. Linda?
That's good with me.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2017 calendar meeting schedule for the second and fourth Monday of the months?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Okay. And we have a special activity. We have a probationary hire recommendation for Brian Colton as part-time police officer, starting date of January 10th at $15 per hour. Is there a motion to hire on a probationary basis Brian Colton?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And then we have the oath of office to administer. Brian, if you would. Anybody have a copy of that oath of office?
He does.
Case it's bringing them up. Thank you very much. Brian, if you would, raise your right hand. Y'all, whoever wants to take pictures, you're certainly welcome to come right up here. Come on, go, come right on up. We'll get out of your way. Yes, I am. Brian, if you would, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Brian Colton,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties required
the duties required
as a part-time police officer,
as a part-time police officer,
police constable of Clearcreek Police Department,
police constable of Clearcreek Township,
Clearcreek Township, Warren County, State of Ohio.
Clearcreek Township,
Warren County,
Warren County,
State
State
of
of Ohio,
to which office I have been appointed
to which office I have been appointed
according to the law
according to the law
and the best of my ability
and the best of my ability
during my continuance in office.
during my continuance in office.
Congratulations.
Everybody.
Come on up, you can come on up and get that picture. Come on
Go
up.
where?
I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Take you through this one right here. Go push. Close it. Close it. Push it. Yep. All right. There you go.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, Kevin.
Now we do have a public hearing scheduled. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion. I think it's a very late everybody. Oh, tax collector. I'd like to entertain a motion to recess our regular meeting and open the public.
So move.
Second?
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yeah.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yeah.
Mr. Wade?
Yeah. And this public hearing is for a rezoning request, and I think you probably all have had an opportunity to read this, so I'm not going to read on it.
I'll start us off, sir.
Jeffrey, if you would, please.
Okay, we're talking about property that is 157 acres and change in the red line. A couple different maps showing where we're at. This property, it's outlined here. It has several different zoning classifications, some of them since 1973. You have an R1 section that is approximately 13 acres, an M1 section which is approximately 121 acres, a B1 section which is approximately a quarter acre, and then since 2005 there's been 23 acres that is an OSR1. Surrounding zone, that's great, let's try the surrounding zoning jurisdictions. To the north we have R1, OSR1, to the south R1, OSR1, M1, B1 and B2, to the east OSR1 and M1, to the west OSR1, R1 and B1. In 2005, when the Clearcreek Township updated their land use plan, they also did a modification to the minimum lot size, and that's truly why we're here this evening. At that point in time, the minimum acreage excluded road right-of-way, waterways, wetlands, 100-year floodplain, drainage easements, and high-pressure gas lines. Underneath the R1 zoning classification, that's a 2-acre minimum lot size or a 1-acre lot size with a 30% open space dedication. With the R1 request, that would be a 1-acre minimum lot size, 1/2 acre if sanitary sewer were brought to the site. In 2005, when this property was looked at, there was continuation of the plan of the 1998 plan for residential commercial office activities, specifically on this site. Commercial was 10 acres, office was 35, and industrial was 111. At that time, I'm trying to figure out how do we get around red line, realizing that this 5-point was in play. Mom's Restaurant was still in existence for all of us who remember. And we're trying to figure out how to do things. Ultimately, in 2005, we said, let's create kind of a circular road to get around, and then at some point in time, we'll figure out what this yellow red line village area actually means. Well, and more or less 10 years later, we've come back and now we're doing an update onto the red line area, also bringing in the Hunter area through a joint program. And with that program, we're trying to figure out where things at and what's going to occur. And the same discussion about how do we get around the red line is still occurring. This application actually came in mid-process, so we're not done with the Hunter red line update. That's anticipated still in spring of 2017. So that is one of the things that I'm sure we'll have some discussion tonight about how do we get through what's appropriate, what is not for zone changes and the like. When this property in its area went through the planning process, there was a combination of residential expectation and then a mixed-use expectation. This is all pre-public input. That public input is still being processed, so to speak. Regional planning asked today, do we finally have a map that shows where all those viewpoints came about? They're still playing with that map, so we do not. So what I've done on this map is highlighted in yellow where things are going to be. When we look at the parcel, and the applicant's going to probably do a much better job than I am in this regard, but discussion about all the waterways that exist. If we look at the applicant's December 21st concept plan, you can see the blue going through of the waterways, drainage areas in the site. It actually probably lend itself better to being in residential use than in industrial use, which was basically what was just rubber stamped from the 1960, the 1973 updates and the like of zoning. So, we're still looking at where does sanitary sewer come to the site through the land use update, where the road connections are going to be, and just to give you an understanding about how sometimes we think we are the center of the world. There's someone else who thinks we may be the center of the world. Cincinnati Eastern Bypass is trying to figure out a way to get around the Brent Spence Bridge. You think, well, how does that impact Clearcreek Township? Well, on their plan, it actually impacts by starting in Kentucky, working its way through, and ends up in little old Red Line. So, knowing how government is and knowing how many different entities exist between its point of origin and here, I'm not sure the likelihood of its success is going to take a lot of effort to get there, but we're talking about all the different ways in which Red Line could grow, will grow, and the like. That is one thing that's still out there as one of those oddities. With that being said, when you do a straight zone change, you don't have to put forth a site plan. You just say, this is my parcel that I'm looking at. The applicant actually did a little bit more than that. In the November concept plan, they showed both a residential and a commercial component. They did an update in December the 5th in which they kind of moved some things around with their orientation on where they wanted to have their access point based upon ODOT's discussion, still having a contained area of commercial and residential. This one before the Clearcreek Township Zoning Commission. They ultimately liked the idea of the residential, but did not want to have this intensive commercial classification and made a modification to the request for your recommendation, which said change the B2 to B1. On December the 21st, the applicant and I had dialogue via email, and they actually removed the commercial component from that request. So now tonight's request is 100% residential. So, I'm sure there'll be some discussion about appropriate and some not, and we're talking about some areas. Just to bring point of order, this is a 10-acre tract that we are anticipating in the 2005 plan to be commercial, to help out the road frontage lots of commercial, so there'd actually be a node in the area. So I'm not sure if this is something that trustees want to have discussion tonight, wait for the update to the plan, or if the plan they're seeing tonight is what they feel is appropriate for the area, along with the road network. 2005, since we just drew it on the map, we did not solidify this in a thoroughfare update. That's something that would come out of the Hunter Red Line update plan, which ODOT and Warren County Engineer's Office would actually then look at those roads, decide what the quality of roads would be for future development. So, for this evening, I have before you a request that has been modified to go straight R1. You have the ability to approve it, deny it, or table until the update of the plan. And of course, if you want to do a modification, this is something we can further discuss. When we did the update to the 2005 update of the land use plan, certain areas were automatically rezoned as an update. Trustee said, let's go ahead and bring in all the residential to the new classifications. I anticipate there'll be discussion for this red line area, but there'll be some of that occur also. So if this is something you're saying, okay, if we like some of it, we don't like all of it, how would we make them whole? That is one way in which through process we get there. But again, we're still midstream. This request is acting for action tonight, so I've rambled probably enough. I'll answer questions, let the applicant get to it.
Okay, I have any questions for Jeff at this point?
Are there other suggested routes for that eastern bypass that would not include Red Line?
No, that group is pushing that current location, but they're also trying to figure out how to make all the different jurisdictions cooperate, monies and the like. In theory, it would only add 5 more minutes to your travel to get there. It just seems to be one of those oddities that, I knew it was out there, we have to talk about it, I don't know its true implementation because of all the different jurisdictions. But when we're looking at the area of Red Line, trying to figure out a plan for it, we've waited 10 years trying to figure out where some things are. You know, there's a couple more months, some things you want to wait, or do you feel that this is something that meets the expectation of how things are planned in the area and go for?
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jeff at this time? Okay, if the applicant would come up and introduce yourself, please.
Power button at the top.
All right, good evening, my name is Greg Smith, I'm here for the Ober Companies. George Ober, senior, regrets not being able, or junior, sorry, regrets not being able to attend this evening, but Bob Abernathy is here to help support us as well, so any questions you may have, I'd be happy to address. If I can't answer them, we'll defer to Bob or to George and get back to you. Just a little bit about the Ober Companies. Maybe you've heard us. Had a home division called Goldkey Homes for many years. We've recently rebranded. No longer using the Goldkey name, sticking with the Obers. Our company was founded by George Ober Sr. Over 60 years ago. In fact, barely just passed. George Ober Jr. is now running the company. Like I said, would be here tonight, except for he had to attend a builders conference. Our organization has been participating in custom home developments for many years. Most recently, we've done development in Beaver Creek called the Fox Ridge. We've also done development here in Clearcreek, North Clearcreek Estates. One in Washington Township, where half of it is custom homes. The Longsboro, Washington. If you go up to Washington Township, that is the one that will be on your eastern side, next to Waterbury Woods. And then Beaver Creek in Butler Township is also custom homes. For Country Creek, we're partnering up a model that Bob Abernathy started. He's used this model in Country Brook and Stone Ridge custom home communities. So for our concept for this plan is more off his model than ours. We would be using his covenants and restrictions. The lots would be more similar to the sizes in Country Brook, Country Creek, and they would be on septic systems. Most of our former custom home communities have been on sewer, so a little bit unique there for us to go that way. The site we were looking at here, of course you're all aware of, is just on 122 and 74. It's got good proximity to Springboro schools, to the new Ottermine Union Village, which has been approved just south of us. I understand it's going to be an entire community down there, homes and shops and such. And of course, not too far from the Merrill Outlet Mall. The site has many natural features, most notably significant creeks that run through it from the south and head northway, mostly through the woodways there. Our plan would take advantage of those natural features by putting them mostly in the rear yards of the custom homes with a few crossings, to driveways as required. We did our best to minimize any impact to the streams, even to the street system. As Jeff pointed out, the parcel is currently zoned mostly for 3 designations: open residential rural space, light industrial and R1 residential. We would propose zoning the entire thing R1 residential. We feel that the R1 is more appropriate for a number of reasons. Mostly the industrial doesn't work with the streams along the site. A, there's no sewer available to the site, so most industrial uses require sewer. B, and the cost of extending sewer, we've had that priced out as roughly $2 million and no short-term plans to do so. Any type of attempt to level the site, there is much topography, quite a bit of topography on site. So any attempt to level the site to make it usable for industrial uses, most of those require very large plains, is evident by what UPS is doing to the site there on Miami Township. Would certainly destroy some of the natural features that we actually find valuable. We personally don't feel the ORS 1 zoning is appropriate for the parcel because it would not allow for a clustering of the homes as much as the R1 zoning would do. The product in which Mr. Abernathy has been successful with before, and we'd like to continue the feeling of, did create a neighborhood. So we're looking to create a neighborhood, albeit one with larger lots than what is common. So the ROS 1 zoning would force a less dense than what a neighborhood would permit. Also wouldn't make the economics of the proposal feasible. As previously stated, we're looking to do homes that would be very similar to what currently exists in Country Creek. And our lots would be a little bit, in Stone Ridge and Country Brook. Country Creek's name, the lots would be a little bit larger, averaging 1.5 acres in size. So we increased the lot size from some of Mr. Abernathy's previous developments. But we would carry through some of the same concepts he had previously done. We'd use the same design covenants and restrictions. We are using the same engineers. We're going to market to the same builders. And we're even using the same real estate agencies previously used. We anticipate the average home to exceed $600,000 in this community. And that would be supported by what other homes in Bob's recent sales have been. If we were to sell all 70 lots at that rate, we'd be talking about over $42 million worth of investment here. So we do believe it is significant beneficial investment to the community. We've already started working with a real estate agent, quietly marketing these lots. That effort has been wildly successful. A lot of the custom home builders who previously built in the other developments have already pledged to buy lots here if we are successful with our zoning. We're working with a septic installer to identify the appropriate septic systems, locations for every lot. Once those locations are identified and once the zoning system is complete, we will come back through with the plan process, which goes through Warren County and eventually make its way back up here to the trustees. It is anticipated that we'd be under construction with our first section by early 2017, summer 2017. That's all I really have for my presentation this evening. Mr. Abernathy is here to answer any questions you may have of him. He's been supporting us the entire way through this process. He's been very helpful, sharing information with us, daily, bi-daily phone calls. We want to make sure that what we propose here is in keeping with what he's done elsewhere with Clearcreek Township. So we appreciate his support. I did include a few of the slides on the commercial we previously proposed along 122. I just want to note the reason why we changed our plan to 100% residential primarily had to do with ODOT's realignment there. So originally we had our southern entrance further to the east. When we met with ODOT, they were actually very supportive of the plan. Didn't make any comment to some of these loop roads that have been discussed. Their only suggestion to us was they wanted to make a four-way intersection along that southern entrance, which for traffic-wise made perfect sense. It's hard for me as a developer.
So where's that For weddings?
It would be,
at
123.
123, yep, make that up. It made sense, there's a light there, much better than a drop lane and left-hand turn lane, which our previous interest would have required. Like I said, it was difficult to disagree with them on a engineering standpoint. But what it did was, when we made the change and added the commercial area there, it made our southern entrance appear much more commercial than residential. So we were getting such a positive response to the preliminary lot sales that we believed that we were likely to be able to sell 3 or 4 more residential lots, a whole lot more faster than we would ever be able to sell it in the commercial land. Honestly, we honestly believe that we get more value out of the residential lots in the commercial land because of the types of builders and the types of requests we were getting on the residential. So, and then third, but certainly not least, it would allow us to turn that southern entrance into a residential appearance by putting a nice stone monument sign on what is shown as lot 63 there and landscaping it as such. So when coming from the south, it would again look like a residential community and not, you know, a cut-through street through a commercial track, which kind of what the other plan resulted in. We also were of the belief that, you know, in the event that commercial opportunities do exist in Red Lion, there was ample land available for that south of this, in the old downtown type area, to the west, and largely this 5 acres wouldn't matter one way or the other. So that is why we switched our proposal and are today requesting that the entire acreage be zoned R1. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, the rationale of doing away with all of the commercial, I don't particularly buy. Granted, you might be able to get more out of your lots, but that doesn't necessarily service the area well. With the developments going to be down there, your development someday across the street, probably, who knows when. It just seems to me there should be some commercial down there. Now, you say make it to the west. Well, we know that the west of Red Lion, they're not really interested in that at this point. That's already developed as R1 now. So it appears to me that, at least certainly most of it is over there, west of Red Lion. It still appears to me that this would be a good place to have some. You're gonna be putting a lot of houses out there with nothing at this point other than one UDF there to service the people in that area. It seems to me like there ought to be some area that could be developed someday, and I granted it might not be the #1 selling item in your subdivision, I get that, but still, as things are developed out there, it seems to me there should be some commercial space. Personal opinion, we'll see what everybody else thinks.
I appreciate that. One thing I would point out,
And the
We're
alignment,
not
you can still
arguing-
make your alignment, the alignment can work, and I get that, and that makes perfect sense. I can certainly think that, with your talents, that you can still make that a nice monument and very attractive entrance to this subdivision if it's approved.
mind you, I wouldn't propose no commercial on Red Lion, I was simply
But no, I understand, but it seems like a good spot to me, but.
for sure.
Do you guys have any questions for him?
Not currently, I would concur. I mean, I think based on what, and I'm looking at 4 different rough drafts at this
Sure.
point, but my questions will come as we go through the development portion of it, I suppose, as far as the wetlands and.
So not as far as the zoning.
No, I agree. I would, being someone that doesn't live too far from that area and hoping that something else goes into where Marathon was, it's still, based on 70 more houses going in, needs the support of more than ice cream and gasoline. That's my take on it, and it's not really the trouble with this area currently, and some of the residents who are here can vouch for this, it's not really serviceable by Springboro or by Franklin or Middleton or Lebanon. It's kind of in a lost zone where if they want to order a pizza, they only have one option, or things of that nature. So it would be nice to see more of a support system for this area, if that's, and that's an ideal spot on 122.
I would certainly agree, by the way, that this is certainly, or I believe a residential use here is much better than an industrial, best use of the land with the streams and the wetlands that go through there, because I know it's wet back in there. It definitely will have some issues, and the larger lots will allow you to put some more homes back there. I think that's all fine. But one thing I was wondering, and Jeff alluded to it, what about the plan that started out there, that you guys are sitting on the committee and looking at how that should develop? When do you think that actually will really be done? I mean, when did you start that, Jeff?
It was started, the initial discussion was 2015. We actually started activity February 2016, with the first meetings, putting things together. I anticipate truly by the summer of 2017. It's probably realistic. So spring to summer of this year.
Okay. Good. On that committee, I don't sit on that committee. Mr. Gabbard sits on that committee, and because we can't sit on that committee with him, or we're having a meeting that changes the whole dynamics of that organization, we take it forever to get done. But I guess one of my thoughts was that me sitting here, I'd kind of like to see what the dynamics of that group have put together, because there are many different dynamics on there, and see what they think the development of the greater red line area. Okay, the greater red line area. It's hard to think of that these days, but I mean, what it should really look like out there. I don't doubt that your beautiful subdivision would be one of the things that would be part of that. I mean, I think most people realize that that land's been sitting there unused, people have been paying taxes on it for a long time. It's time to get something going out there, and I get that. But personally, I'd kind of like to see this plan for the greater red line area to come. I'd like to see it before we change all of this. And that being said, that's part of what I'm talking about for the commercial, the business area, the business node.
Unfortunately, our contingency on the property would not last long enough for that to
Okay.
first facilitate itself out. Also, we had a discussion a little bit with the zoning commission when Mr. Ober was present, and I'm glad he made a comment rather than myself being led to it. Most notably regarding the cut-through street that was being discussed in that plan. And George voiced then, and I'm sure you probably still continue to hold that opinion, that if that was something that was required upon us, we would no longer be interested in this
Probably
project.
don't want to do that.
Mr. Paul, excuse me, I've been to every one of those meetings, I think, but one. And I don't remember this piece of property ever being discussed at line, in the Hunter Red Line project meeting, other than, you know.
With the design forums that were going on,
Yeah,
it was part of that.
I mean, yes, I
all
was,
in
but it was
Hunter area.
always considered residential back then, in our meetings.
But it has a combination of a split residential mixed use is what it started off as. And I believe during those meetings, there are multiple variations of what this property could be, because when you start that, you're going all the way out, you start then come back to what could be real. But it was talked about just as other properties were talked.
I was part of that group of the forum that was,
I don't mean that big meeting, I mean the monthly meetings that we went
yeah,
to.
I think the forum was probably the area where it got the most discussion.
Yeah, so the past two, so October, November, were the past two meetings that there was great discussion about where the vision would go, so to speak, and how development would occur. And what's everyone's ideas if you could redraw, the
I
world.
remember, yeah.
So, that's why I wanted to see if there was a composite of that, and that was my discussion today with the regional planning. Do we truly have a composite about where the business node would exist in this area and how things are? And it was still too much in concept form to not be useful tonight.
Okay, I need somebody to clarify for me where this cut-through street is. And I can't seem to pick that out.
Do you have,
I don't have it.
It's basically an extension of 123.
Okay.
It's,
So just, this is a 2005 plan.
This area is truly not, for the clarification of the audience,
Yeah.
this is a line on the map. And this is another line on the map, and we're trying to figure out where does the line go, if the line needs to go on the map, and what would the line actually be as functionality for the town.
this is one idea, yeah, that's one. So when I started talking with Jeff about this, respecting Mr. Rover's opinion as it is, we have plenty of examples where you can build this neighborhood and they're gonna use your cut through. So, one way or the other, we have to look at it from the perspective of what are our residents going to be dealing with in the long term. If it's not in the form of the proposal or something like that, it becomes your main street that goes down to the cut through to 741. And that's of concern to me, because those residents
Yeah,
are going to be unhappy with that.
This becomes a cut through.
Absolutely. Heatherwood, residents of Heatherwood in the city deal with that every day, every morning, every afternoon, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing we could look and tweak in the plan. In that regard, we would probably be supportive of making it less of a cut through. So if we go through, you know, but I know that would kind of be counterproductive to some of the things,
Well, I think there's gotta be a middle ground there somewhere, because I think to service both, you know, if you've got a cut through that affects one or two of your lots versus 20 of them.
you know,
20, yeah.
I mean, we're still gonna want we're gonna want at least 2 in, 2 out, as Chief Hagenbrook shakes his head.
Oh, yeah.
That to me, when you look at the plan itself, where it butts up against what Red Line has currently, I think that's why they see it as a little tighter to that zone, to be able to still service what you're saying. I agree as well. I don't think this property is industrial. I don't think it's commercial use. This is a good fit for what can and I'm sure at some point will happen.
well, and like I said, we are in a fairly short timeline with the seller. We basically have to make our decisions in February, so not usually a lot of time here.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm sure there'll be some more questions too.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Abernathy, if you would, please.
Tough to get up as you get old. Hello, my name's Bob Abernathy. I am the developer of Country Brook and Stone Ridge. And if you folks want to know what you're going to get, all you got to do is drive through Country Brook. Those houses start at 600 and go to well over 2 million. I am partnering with them in a very light way. I'm getting too old to stay with this and do it. I mean, it's just one of those things that happens in life. But I love it so much when you have a special piece of ground like this, that it makes a big difference. And it's, like I always say, a good piece of ground will make the dumbest developer look good. The sewer for this area is not like $2 million away. You have to upgrade the Hunter plant and one other plant, because I called Chris Brash about it. You're talking, you know, $4 to $6 million, I mean, I don't know, before this area gets sewer. As far as the cut-through road goes, move it down further. Move it to the right, to the east, and go around this property. You know, what difference does that make? You don't want to take that thing through all those creeks and streams. I mean, we're gonna have enough problem getting permits as it is. As far as the commercial ground goes, Ed, across the street on the south side is flattened pancake cornfield. I mean, it's ideal for commercial. Between there and the new red light there going to the west, towards the new UDF, which my wife loves, but you've got all the commercial in the world. And the reason we did that, we decided that our grandkids would have grandkids before that commercial was viable. So That was our reason for doing it, and we are on a short timeline here. And these houses, any house over 450,000 pays its own way. The higher you go up in that category, the more these people pay. These are the kind of houses and people you want in this community. I think we've done a very, very good job of supporting this community and putting nice properties in it. Please,
No question about that.
thanks, Ed. Please take a hard look at this. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to entertain anything from any of the audience. Anybody have any comments they'd like to come up and, yes, sir, if you would come to the podium and state your name for us, please. Do you want them to just say their address or?
My name is John Greer. I live at 4413 North State Route 123. I am here because of the Hunter Red Line area plan. I'm not officially part of that, but I understand it. And I wanted to come up with something that might be an alternative to having less lots, and an alternative to having something that would, I wanted something that would be a compromise that would work. So I've got a drawing here, which I gave one to Greg, and I'm gonna give, and I think you have, you gave him the written.
Can't put this in.
And the written also has a great, and we'll leave those two with today. But I am submitting herewith a suggested revision to the plan that was reviewed at the previous Clearcreek hearing for Country Creek. The Hunter Red Line area plan, developed by Warren County Regional Planning and others, envisioned a connector loop around Red Line. This submission is an attempt to maintain that loop. The revisions would locate the commercial B2 zone just northeast of the present Red Line district. That is where lots 64 and 65, where I Xed those out. I relocated those and maintained the same number of lots that they had on that plan up there. Well, I'm not sure if it's that plan up there, but I maintained the ones I had on the plan that I had at the time, which was 70, 75, I think. But anyway, the revision located the commercial property B2 zone just northeast of the Red Line business, bounded by 741-122. The connector road would have business on its west side of the road and residential with a landscape buffer on the east side. This hopefully gives both the developer and the county a reasonable compromise, and the township. As I have been thinking about the Red Line and improving its business area, I have some thoughts. I believe the loop road may not be an asset to Red Line. Red Line is presently a crossroads community. Many communities like this exist, especially where expressways are not nearby. Small towns thrive from local residents and commuters passing through on the crossroads themselves. Red Line has been improved so much by the removal of the moniker 5 Points. Unfortunately, that also removed the destination of Mom's Restaurant, a business that was known far and wide, as we all know. ODOT's roadway improvements are great, but traffic at the 5 o'clock rush hour needs help with retiming lights, right turn on red, or police directing traffic. As I mentioned in one of my communications, the United Dairy Farmers has put a lot of money in Red Line, and we want others to do the same. I do not believe a loop connector, that loop connector roads will help UDF's impulse buyers. UDF is not always a destination. Then there are traffic speeds that must be lessened, or we will never have bikers or pedestrians to use the walk-wait light signals which ODOT installed. I would like to see business property along 7041 be increased in size, taking parts of lot 64 and 60, parts or all of lot 64 and 65 for an office or strip center accessed from 741 and possibly 122. So the roadway that I've sort of snaked through there, starting at the intersection of the 123 where it tees into 122, and then I run it up exactly where the connector was shown on the Hunter Red Line plan. And then I worked out the lots so that anybody that's coming through to go to the residential lots would use this connector road to get to it, and there would just be a few houses that would actually feed off of that. But this lot 64 and 65 that would have business use, I'm thinking that that might come off of another location on 741 or on 122. But something to make sure, and that other thing that was mentioned, putting businesses on the south side of 122 where we don't have a multi-million-dollar project plan would really be something that would be very good. I mean, if we want that, Mr. Wade mentioned that he definitely likes the idea of putting the business on 122, but could it be on the other side if it has to be there? But to finish up here, I wanted to have a plan that impacted, that was detrimental to the residential development as slightly as possible, and still gave them still gave the loop the way that the township and Warren County wanted it.
I have any questions for Mr. Greer before he steps down? That's- Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your presentation. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm Paul Pomeroy, live at 3839 State Route 123. I'm also part of the Red Lion Hunter group, so I've been in all those meetings. I've also been following this eastern bypass, and to answer Mr. Motorspaw's question, their plan back in the middle of last year had the intersection with Red Line much further east. It was over where 48 is, where the Warren County school is. So their plans are in flux, but in the most recent plan, it has it just to the east of Red Line. So, you know, whatever happens, who knows? So I guess my take on all this is what I'm hearing from the people in the Red Line Hunter meeting, and also, I guess, my own observations. It doesn't appear to me that at this point, building any more of this circle road around Red Line makes any sense. Part of it's already been built. When they relocated 123, that's kind of the southeastern part of what they had originally planned. But we have kind of a chicken and egg story here. There are several lots in Red Lion that have changed hands or been vacant for a long time. We've got plenty of other space to put any kind of a business or retail type operation in. There's the Marathon Station, there's the property just to the east of where Mom's Restaurant used to be. Now that's open and for sale. There's a whole section south of 122 across from all of this we've been talking about. If the developers here feel that in order to sell $600,000 plus homes, they wanna make that look residential and, you know, I'm not a realtor, so I can't speak to what it takes to sell a house like that. My guess is those people are pretty particular about what they wanna see. I agree with them that putting any kind of a cut-through road through this probably is not gonna help them sell. And I don't really see much value in cutting that off. I think if they're able to sell all these lots, that brings in all the people that are gonna create the demand for all this commercial stuff we're talking about. But if they think that putting this road in and well, they said it, if they're required to put this connector through, they're not interested in it. Well, then we're in the same situation we're in right now.
Well, they really have a connector on their own design.
Well, that's a concern I have. I agree with you 100%. That's gonna become the de facto connector unless they do something, speed bumps or maybe rearrange some of that or something like that. That is a concern. But to formally put in a cutoff, as was just discussed, and actually make it viable for commercial trucks and things like that, if I were buying a $600,000 house, I wouldn't want that in my backyard.
Or front yard.
Or front yard, or side yard. That's my take.
Anybody else have any comments? Anybody else want to?
Yeah, I have a couple more comments. One, I'm Bob Abernathy, he's part of the development team. I would reiterate that putting the Sioux there, I mean, we wouldn't do it, I mean, I can't lose that many lots. And part of it is economics. Moving the poles along 741, their early guesstimate, and it may be more than that, just moving the poles is $327,000. Off-site water is $250,000. When you start talking about numbers like that, I mean, that's not stuff in the development, that's stuff you gotta do on the outside of it to bring it in. When you start talking about those kind of numbers, you can deal with the infrastructure numbers within the development, but when they get so high, it gets tough. I mean, it gets real tough. The other thing we do is that all those stops, we put four-way stops. So nobody's gonna be able to sail right through there. We don't like it any better than anybody else does, but it's a fact. A lot of people are gonna take the easiest way that they can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Paul Palmer again. I guess just in thinking about this, four-way stops or not, I would see cars maybe taking this de facto bypass route. You're not gonna be seeing 18-wheelers.
No,
and
no, it'll just be,
trucks and
it'll
stuff like that.
Yeah,
And we don't.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody else out there?
Since I was doing the part about the connector road, I'll go back to one of my other written papers that I brought in here.